There he is. Good. Hey, good evening. The video didn't play on my end. Did it play on your end?
It played. I think it could. I feel like it cut it short though.
Oh.
That's why
Hey,
I'm
well,
like,
anyway.
play it again for the people, man.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome, fight fans, to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. Gotta love technology, man. It's the best. I'm your boy Bodkins. Of course, with me is my brother from another mother, Wit. It is UFC 304 preview show. We missed you last week. I mean, let's be honest. We took the week off. So did the UFC. I mean, they were live on the Apex. We know how we feel about the Apex, but they are back this week. Live in London, or I guess Manchester, across the pond, headlined by the welterweight champion Leon Rocky Edwards versus Leon, I forgot his name, Bilal Muhammad. And co-headline by my guy Tommy Aspinall versus I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Curtis Razor Blades. Let's go ahead with, sometimes we have a lot in common and we agree on a lot of things. So every once in a while, we got to bring in somebody who can, even us out or defer. Sometimes you got to put a different mindset in the brain. Sometimes when we're tied or when we're separated, we need somebody to come on, make it 2-1 or break the tie, make it, hey, you guys didn't think about this. So I reached out on the Twitter land into the Discord chat in the world. Give it up for our guy making his podcast debut on Headkicks and Haymakers, Mr. Bobby Blunt's Bobby Lent.
Ew.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Hey, Bobby, what's up? Welcome to Headkicks and Haymakers, the UFC 304 preview show. Before we get into it, we'll break down this card. Just looking at the card as a whole, how do you feel about it?
I'm in love with every fight on the card from top to bottom. I think the prelims are built very, very well and not a boring fight on the thing to me. I'm pretty excited for this one. We haven't had a big boy like this in a while.
Amen to that. It has been a little bit top to bottom. I do feel like this card is really well. What's your thoughts on just the card itself, before we start really looking at it?
Well, first of all, as we all know, this card is in England, so you got to brush up on all your English slang. So you got to watch Supercell on Netflix. Okay. You also got to take a minute and watch a couple of episodes of Top Boy. Top Boy is pretty good. Okay. And then you got to take it back. Monty Python's. Let's make sure you catch up on the originator of Americans getting to watch something in English. You got to watch Monty Python's. But on top of that, guys, when I look at this card, it's something that I think somebody like Bilal Muhammad has been waiting for, because ever since he got his eye poked, he's never been the same. He's always had a little bit of disdain, just a little bit of disdain for that no contest, and that of course, somehow, some way, we got a chance to witness during COVID, and he's felt slighted for so long. Bodkins and I on numerous occasions go, it's boring, Bilal. Why? Because the fights aren't exciting. But now you get to prove us wrong. So I'm excited to see that. Then, of course, Curtis Blades, Tommy Aspinall. That's your guy.
That is my guy. He's my guy.
I can't wait to see some heavyweight slugging, because that is pretty much all I'm expecting for that one. And then we got the return, Patty the Batty back at home after he stopped eating pieces and drinking several beers. I think this should be very exciting. So I'm excited for 304 after having a week off and doing your National Geographic thing in Detroit.
Amen to that. I'm just kind of looking at the undercard here. I mean, this card's they got moved from the main card to the bottom card. That's Manel Kape versus Muhammad Mokaev. Bobby, like, it's been reported that Mokaev has kind of set out, hey, this is my last fight on the contract. Do you think that's the reason they moved him out of the main card and back to the prelims? Then there was a little scuffle today at the hotel.
Yeah, so I thought it was that till about 20 minutes ago, till I saw on Twitter where the teams were scuffling. And I think there's a lot of bad blood in between these camps, and they're trying to keep him off the press conference because they're worried about something maybe going bad there. So they're just bumping him down to the main card. It was weird that he mentioned in that interview that this was the last fight on his deal, or he pretty much said like he needs a good performance to get the money he wants. And but I'm really excited for that fight. Like, I didn't need the scuffle like to be sold on it. I think that's a crime to be on like the prelims personally.
I think it's going to be the first fight on the card, ain't it? It looks like it, right? Like, maybe.
I don't think it's going to be on the early prelims, but then again, it would not shock me because, they might not want to give anyone mic time. They might just want to keep it. I remember when Dana said about the Ian Gary MVP fight, he's like, oh, this is the fight we kind of knew we were getting. So maybe matchmakers were thinking a little bit of that and bumped him down. But I thought the bad blood was enough to like sell it. And then you see the scuffle happen. So I'm not really sure why it's bumped down. I'm just glad it's not off because, we all know the history.
Yeah, with Manel Kape, who knows if he's going to show up, but he's showing up. Maybe they don't want him, the last two times Manel Kape got on the microphone, he said some slurs, so maybe the ESPN and UFC was like, hey, we can't have that, so maybe that's a possibility.
Listen, man, they got to cover enough of the spread when they got Pat McAfee on, so they don't want too many more curses. Okay. We got McAfee during the middle of the day. We got McAfee on Saturday. We can't have anybody else cursing. Thank you very much. Put Manel Kape on the early prelims. Let it happen.
Yeah, I think it will be better for the fight in the end because I think both of them will feel slighted and kind of want to perform. I am picking Kape to win the fight. I think he can put him away. But at the same time, I could see it being a decision as well, like pretty easily.
I like where you're going with that one. Of
course, he's in really good shape.
I think Manel Kape wins as well. I think he can. I think he wins a decision. That's just kind of his, or not Manel Kape, but Mokaev wins by decision. It's kind of way his fights go. I think he could go and try to go for a finish, though, if he's pressed about this fight contract and try to really get a finish. I think he needs a finish, especially, too, he wants to try to break through and get a title fight. This was a guy who at one time talked about being the youngest, UFC champion. Now he may not, if they don't renew his contract, and we'll get into this is the last contract for Patty, and we'll get into that for a little bit in a minute, too, but is there any other prelim fight that you're looking at?
Real quick about the Mokaev Manel Kape joint. I'm thinking in my mind somewhere, a lot of times we talk about the scuffles that happen before the prelims and how some way, like at the weigh-ins and media time, what happens when you get into the ring? Is your mind on knocking a guy out? Or are you going to throw your game plan out the window? Somewhere in there, I think that favors Mokaev just a little more to where, look, he's going to score points. He's not necessarily knocking you out, but he's going to get you on the ground possibly to try to submit you. Will he submit you? I don't know. But that little slip that may or may not happen because you're thinking, forget that. I'm gonna knock this guy out just for talking, slick or whatever. I think that favors Mokaev in my mind. Then when we go to the rest of the prelims, man. Somewhere down here. This is what it was. Another Englishman, if you will, my guy Nathan Wood and Daniel Pineda. So I got a chance to watch UFC Fight Night with Nathaniel Wood. Like maybe what was that? It was I want to say he lost though. And I was like, if only for not being outpointed, I thought that he had a whole lot of heart he showed in the fight. So I'm looking forward to him being at home to get a little bit of that hometown love and maybe overpowering Daniel Pineda on that one.
Yeah, he's Wood's the heavy favorite in that fight at minus 450. Bobby, is there a fight that you like on the prelims? I know you say you like the whole card as a whole, but is there another on the prelims before we start breaking down this main card?
Yeah, I mean, the Oben fight intrigues me. All the Irish dudes on the early prelims really intrigue me. I'm kind of glad they gave some showcase matchups and stuff, like Wood, for example, and stuff like that. Because I do think the main card is split extremely down the middle. So it's good for them to kind of, showcase some of the hometown guys there.
Yeah, I like the Welsh gangster Oban Elliott too. I like his story. I'd like to see. Hopefully, he can beat Preston Parsons. He's the underdog on this fight too at plus 115. So not a bad little bit of money if you put money on the Welsh gangster. I'd like to see. I'm always been a fan of the meatball Molly McCann. Hopefully, she can bounce back. She's kind of had.
She looks terrific. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah, I almost thought it was a different person. She looks pretty in shape.
Hopefully, she's had a rough few fights. I think she's on a 2-fight skid. I'm gonna look. I wanted to. Yeah. Oh no, she won her last fight, but before that, she had lost her previous two. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Erin Blanchfield. Did come, you know what I mean? But did win it back in February. She won on a fight night. But I think with that crowd and things like that, she gets a big win. That it seems like when her and Patty together, that's when they're their best. And we're getting them paired to this week,
especially there. It's not like they're like putting her in the Apex or something.
No, it's at home in Manchester. You know what I mean? Like it's in London. In England. Let's go ahead and look down this the main card here. It opens up with Arnold Allen. He is on a 2-fight losing skid, but he's 19-3. He's the number 6 featherweight. He was like on a 7-fight winning streak. His last 2 losses are you know what I mean? He lost to Max Holloway and Mozart Evloev, which that Mozart Evloev could have scored that for Arnold Allen, and had they had the rules what they are now, where you could the ground opponent rule, he probably wins that fight. And he's taking on number 10 featherweight Giga Jakaza, 15-3. Arnold's the decent favorite here at minus 238. But Giga hasn't fought in a year. Bobby, your thoughts on this fight? And go ahead and it's you're our guest in our house, so you make the first pick.
Yes, sir.
I have Allen winning that fight, but I think it will be fairly competitive, and I have him probably eking out a decision there.
What's up, Rob?
But at the same time, he has been kind of going through that skid. So, you kind of he seems to be like at a great place, like when you saw his interviews and stuff. So I think it's a good thing for him to get back on track. And I think that line is pretty justified, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's at minus 238. Giga's at plus 110. So your thoughts on here on this? Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
I was just going to say, I was just thinking back to his last fight, and his performance really got shit on by Dana and stuff. And I wonder if that puts a little bit of extra, wanting to actually handle him and, make him eat his words, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think this could very well be almost fight of the night type. These two guys like to stand and bang, so we're not going to, Mozart is a different type of fighter. Loves to, he's a ground guy. Arnold will stand and bang. I was there in the building when him and Max fought, and he gave Max, a pretty good fight. Like, you knew Max was winning, but it was a main event in Kansas City, and Arnold was, no shame in losing to Max Holloway, right? Like that's, I think that's, you know what I mean?
That whole division is, it's a very good division. I know like the UFC isn't like boxing to where like you can actually take some losses and stuff, but it's the multiples, that's when it's a problem. Like,
when you lose 2-3 in a row, he's got to win this one. This is a big one to get back on track.
Yeah. Stay out of the apex. That's the goal.
Yeah. Stay out of the apex, baby. Oh boy. Yes, sir.
Your thoughts here on this top 10 featherweights going at it to open up the main card?
So I'm with you guys.
Hey, you're echoing. You're echoing real bad. There you go.
Oh, wait. Is it okay?
There you go. You're good.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you guys on this one. I'm more so in the mindset of that somehow, some way, we got to see who's going to land the first hard punches. You know what I'm saying? Like the prelims got to build up just a little bit. So right here at the beginning, if we can somehow see Giga Sheik, what is it? Shikadis?
Giga Chikaze.
Chikaze. I like once again, I gotta see him because of course in these last 3 fights he's been putting on really good shows. I really liked him against the Bruce Leroy guy. In my mind, this is probably going to be one of his toughest tests up against Allen. Somewhere in here, the two of them, just like you mentioned, with the wins by knockout being like everybody knows that's the obvious thing. Let's see who's going to change up what they do best in order to win this fight. And I think somehow, some way, Giga's going to pull this one out. Even though I like Allen, don't get me wrong. We'll talk about it. Somewhere in my mind, I feel like all the hometowners, all the English, all the Welshmen are going to like pull out. But this is one of those ones I'm going to go to the other way with. So I'm going to run with Giga on this one.
Yeah, I got Arnold Allen. I think I'm with Bob here. I think it's probably a decision. I could see where Arnold finishes him. If you do the MMA math right, and I know it was like Giga lost to Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen won. I know MMA math doesn't always add up, but this is his second. This is like Giga's second crack at trying to get in that top 5, opponents here. And the last time it didn't work out so well, and he took almost a year off. This is Arnold's second fight this year. I kind of with Bobby. I think he comes out guns of kind of blazing because his fight did get shit on, and I don't know what Dana must have been watching a different fight because that wasn't the worst fight I ever saw. But I'm going Arnold Allen, baby. Let's go the Almighty.
Yeah, man. I like it though. I like the pick. Don't get me wrong. This is one of those that there's almost not a clear cut on too many of these. Well, I lied. There is a clear cut, but for that one in particular, I feel like it can go either way. I'm definitely in agreement with you that it can go to a decision. But if Arnold Allen, I'm going with Giga. But if Arnold Allen somehow manages the last all the way to the very end, man, the points could sway, and English hometown love might just have to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I think another reason I'm confident in it is I could also see him dropping around and still winning the decision because he's really got that second win with him, especially being there. So yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I think this could be fight. Like I said, I think that could be a fight of the night. Let's get to the only fight on the prelim, the only fight on the main card that doesn't have 2 ranked fighters, 2 guys who are trying to get into that top 15 of this stack. The middleweight division is getting stacked. Like we got to get. I feel like every division's really like crammed at the top, and we got to get some of that old guard out and some new blood in. And the middleweight's kind of getting there. And that gets to Christian Duncan, who's 10-1, 4-0 in the UFC. He's the favorite here. At minus 142, and he's taking on my guy Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez, who is the dog at plus 120. He's 15-5, but he's won 4 out of his last fights. 5 fights. We all remember when the RoboCop had the old bash through the forehead and was still fighting. Bobby, what's your thoughts here?
I mean, that one might as well be a pick 'em in my mind. Like if I was betting that, I'd probably take RoboCop just for the juice. Because that's just going to be a war. At the same time, Duncan is pretty gnarly. So like I could easily see him having like a first round finish, but I could also just see it being one of those like 15-minute wars where both guys are just beating the shit out of each other and they're all excited. The whole crowd's going nuts. And like that, you could see why that is on the main card. Like I wonder, before they dropped the kite fight, was that above or below this?
That was below. This is new. I think they replaced this with the Manel Kipe and fight.
So this originally wasn't on the main card.
No, it wasn't.
That's a pretty dope addition. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
definitely, bro. I'm with you, bro. Like when I'm
who you like to win? Hold on, sorry. Who you like to win, Bobby? We make predictions here, regardless of how we feel.
We don't straddle fences on head kicks and haymakers.
Yeah, we don't sit on fences.
I'm just really trying to give it thought because it's so down the middle. I'll probably take Duncan. I think matchup wise, it fares a little better for him. But RoboCop really has that dog in him, so you really can't count him out. Like I said, if I were to bet it, I'd probably bet on RoboCop just to not pay for the vig. But if I have to be locked in, I'd say Duncan.
Whit, your thoughts here?
All right, I'm thinking if I had to pick one dog on this one, I'm gonna go with Rodriguez in this case. So I'm looking at the stats from earlier. I got a chance to look at it while I was riding around doing some business, and I was like, there's no way that he's got 100% takedown defense in all of these fights he's has, like what 15-6 or something like that. Like somehow, some way, I checked like 2 different sites that I normally do.
You talk about RoboCop,
right? And I checked like 2 different sites, and then of course it's on UFC. Like that takedown defense for me is a big deal because Duncan likes to catch you off guard and then go for a takedown and try to wrestle you. He's got some good grappling. I really like the idea of, there's the movable object and the stone. Somewhere in there, I think Rodriguez is the stone. We're not going to see him get taken down. It's going to end up being somewhere in his wheelhouse for this one. So I really like Greg Rodriguez. And this is another one where I'm saying points will matter. I hate, especially when we get to the top of the main card, we got to wait on the judges. I want somebody to get knocked out or submitted, but this could be another one where if you mess around and find out, the points will go in Rodriguez's favor, even though Duncan is once again another hometown guy.
Yeah, man, this fight is, Bobby said it both. Like, RoboCop's got that dog in him. Like, he is RoboCop. Yeah. It's like RoboCop in the movies where he just takes an ass beating and he still finds a way to win. I think that's what happens in this fight. I think it's a close fight. I know I just said the last fight could be fight of the night, but man, I just see like these two guys just standing and banging and fighting and throwing down. And this is a good highlight case for, when you're on the main card, it's a good spot for these guys. I'm going to go RoboCop, baby. Let's go. RoboCop.
The more I think about it, it's pretty calculated why they swapped this fight out. I think it is more the matchmakers, were worried about kind of that maybe some stale grappling or something.
Yeah.
When, especially how you see the top of the card is built. So, we'll see.
Yeah. Let's get into the next one. It is a lightweight. It's the lightweight. It's the artist formerly known as Bobby Green, now aka King Green.
Baby.
Number 15 lightweight. He is 32-15-1. The last time we saw Bobby Green was at UFC 300 when he pieced up Jim Miller. Before that, we thought Jalen Turner killed him. But surprisingly, King Green is the favorite here at -125 against England's own son. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett +105, 21-3. He did step up and he beat old Tony Ferguson on his last fight, Bob. But this is his toughest competition in the UFC. Does he need this win to get the contract, or is the UFC? It seems like they've kind of simmered back on him a little.
He gets a lot of money from like Barstool and stuff, so I'm not even sure like what contract he's like trying to get and stuff, but he seems pretty intent with re-signing, so I don't really think he's going anywhere. I think that one's more just kind of getting picked up because like all the media and stuff, they're like, talking about going into the fight, and some people look at him kind of divisively, so at the same time you could see why it's like kind of getting the extra thing. I do think the UFC is giving him a matchup like put up or shut up, like to kind of test his floor.
Yeah.
And, I depending on how the fight goes, Bobby Green always fights with his hands down. And it really works for like his style and, his striking. But I really wonder if Paddy did not do some work for that. And I just got a weird feeling about this one. And I got Paddy by decision. I think he'll that or probably submission if Bobby Green, gets a little crazy there. But I think Paddy can take his best shot. The question is like, will King land it cleanly? I probably should call him by his name there. But
you could say the artist formerly known as Bobby Green.
Like at the same time, it would not shock me if I watch the fight and Bobby gets a first round stoppage and I'm like, oh, well, I'm just an idiot. Like that is totally in play. But like if you look at that line, it's pretty much split right down the middle. Like whenever it's like that, I pretty much just call it a pick 'em. I mean, depending on what line you're looking at, So I found it kind of weird that he wasn't more of a favorite, being Bobby.
I was Green. Too. You thought Bobby would be more the favorite?
Yeah, just because of like the power aspect. I figured like, I figured like Paddy would be like light plus money, like maybe +105, +125. Yeah. Now I could be mistaken. It might have opened at that and people played it. I mean, it's another fight that it could go like two ways, but I'm really interested to see like what Paddy does like with this, because I think it is really a like test to see like where he's going to go with his career.
I agree with that. Paddy, so on DraftKings, when I was writing down it on my paper this afternoon, was at +105. ESPN bets got him at -105. But they got King Green at -115. So they do have it, like you said, pretty split. But DraftKings had him at +105.
Yeah, that and the last thing on my end, that you mentioned that Jalen Turner shit, and that is a big reason why I'm like, for example, if Paddy fought Bobby Green at UFC 300, I think he would have done a lot better than Jim Miller, like just because of an age thing, So he could prove me wrong in a second easily because he's a savage. What do I know? But
Jalen Turner knocked him back so bad he had to change his name.
Yeah, that was just the worst stop, and it was in the Apex, so it literally
that wasn't like at the Apex. That was at a main card. It was a main card.
It was. Damn. Maybe I was.
Yeah, it was a UFC. I don't know. Let me look, because I know it was a UFC. I got something.
Apex brain. They all blend together.
It was UFC. Oh no, you were right. It was fight night. It was a fight night. That's what. Well, I knew it wasn't Apex, but it was a fight night. That was Darush Sarukian in Austin.
Okay, damn. Yeah, for some reason I just remember that being like silent with no crowd. That's
because they thought they killed a man.
it blends like with all the other things, and you just like feel like it's generic cola. Like even though they have good fighters on it, they're not like promoting it as such, and you feel that.
Well, the crowd thought they witnessed somebody die, Bobby. That's why they were so quiet.
Yeah, no, that was brutal. Like, ugh.
Your thoughts on King Green versus Patty the Batty? We were kind of talking about Patty's contract situation. Does he need a win to get the new contract?
Yeah, I would. You know, I've been watching several things, and it kind of makes me think, like, you know, what would it take to get Uncle Dana to open his wallet? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want for your UFC career to be like? And somewhere in here, I think Patty Pimblett is not absent-minded as he may seem in interviews and real happy-go-lucky. I think this is the time in which I think he's going to prove and show, hey, look, I'm in the best shape I've been in a while. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to prove it. And I'm going to prove it against a quality opponent. Now, don't get me wrong. Bobby Green has had his ups and downs. He's been a little wavering, but just like you guys mentioned, there have been some tough fights that he's gone through. So this is not a sleeper matchup for me. I'm going with Patty, and I'm going with Patty for the knockout. And that's the thing. I like King Green. And me and Botkins, we've talked. I like Bobby Green, okay? But this is one where if I got to put the rubber to the road, you know what I mean? I really feel like Patty's going to go, hey, and he might, and he's the type of guy, he might be rebellious and go, hey, you know, UFC, how about you shove it? You knew this was my last fight and you didn't offer me a renewal or an extension or whatever. He could say something ratchet like that. But at the same time, I still think he's going to give it his best effort, and somehow, some way, we're going to hear about it. You know, Ariel's going to announce it, and, you know, let's get the extension for Patty the Batty.
I don't think Ariel's going to announce it. They got beef right now.
He's not going to announce it, but he'll bring it up.
Patty is way too much of a company guy for Dana to let him walk.
Thank you.
Yeah, easily. Like,
thank you. And at the same time, UFC is doing that tentacle thing where they got their hands, you know, like in every country. You know, now we got Drickus doing South Africa. We gotta have our English guys. That's why we got this card going on. And Patty, as far as England is concerned, is you know, a staple. You know, we got Leon, you got Tom. You gotta have Patty. So if and when he wins this fight, we will definitely hear about the extension, 4 more, 5 more, 6 more fights for Patty Pimblett. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're waiting to see. The UFC is smart on letting him fight this contract because they're waiting to see if he can be into the top 15 type fighter. You can't beat Bobby Green. And there's no knock on Bobby Green. He's just an older fighter. He's been around, but he's the number 15, and he's always going to hover around that spot. You know, so
baby, we got to have some gatekeepers, and Bobby Green.
Yeah, if you can
he's
beat him,
dangerous one though.
Yeah,
he is. Ask Grant Dawson. Ask Grant Dawson. You know what I mean? Grant knocked out Grant Dawson. The first round, and he was the UFC was so high on him. But here's Patty. You know, first of all that, you know, Patty opened up and talked about how he was depressed and things like that. And a lot of haters came after him. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't let him talk. Like, if he can talk about all he wants, being depressed and this and that. Like, it's okay. That's healthy for him to talk about. And you know, even mentioned like his team was going to pull him out because his just mental health wasn't there. And now he's back. He says he feels good. But I saw a lot of people on Twitter just hating on him for the things that he was saying about it. Like, why? Why are you hating on somebody for opening up? Like, what would you rather have? The alternative is not great. You know what I mean? So those people, first of all, can shut the hell up. Second of all, like,
crazy too, because like they literally, sorry to cut you off, but they
go ahead.
Literally like we're about to pull him out of camp and he looks like he's in the best shape of his life.
Thank you.
Like, that is wild. Like, I am very interested in the type of camp he had, because he said it was like the best camp he ever had. It shows, like, with the eye test. So, I mean, it's he
looks in great shape. Maybe he just didn't get quite as fat as he as he did. You know what I mean? It usually does. I think sometimes too.
I think he's feeling it more, and that's why he's dialing in the health a little better.
Yeah, and I think when I think when your weight fluctuates so much, it messes with you mentally, your whole body, right? So I think that has a lot to do with things as well. So I think that has something to do with it. So if he can maintain his weight and this and that, so with that being said, though, there's just something when that crowd gets going and Patty's got the Patty. Oh, Patty the Patty, Patty the Patty. Not only is he winning, he is my dog on the card at plus 115, baby. Give me Patty the Patty, Patty the Patty. Patty gets it done. A submission in the second round. My dog on the card, the one and only Patty the Batty Pimblett, baby.
I love how you just changed it up and you said it's going to be a sub in the second round.
I would bet that because I could totally see that.
I think, if it goes to the ground, that's where Patty's got to get it to the ground. That's where his strength is in this fight. If it's standing up and if Bobby gets his hands down and he's flowing, it could be a long night for Patty, or King, should I say. If King's got his hands down and is flowing, it could be a long night, but I just think that, Patty's going to get this done. He's not going to lose at home. So, there's my prediction. Let's get into the co-main event. He's my heavyweight champion. I know everybody. I know John Jones is legit heavyweight champion, but my heavyweight champion is none other than Tommy Aspinall, 14-3, the heavy favorite at minus 355. Going against the number 4 heavyweight in Curtis Blades, who is the dog on the card, plus 280. He's 18-4. Tom's pretty much, he's had one loss in the UFC, and there was only 2, Curtis Blades, but it's because his knee got blown out, not because of the fight. Other than that, Tom's been undefeated in the UFC. Curtis Blades, he has won 4 out of his last 5, but I've seen Curtis Blades go to sleep one too many times. Bobby, thoughts on the co-main event? Second time in UFC history that the interim title is being defended.
Yeah, I kind of think that line is a little wild. I understand it for sure. Definitely. But I think this fight is going to be a little closer than people anticipate there. I know Tom has, I think, never been out of the second round. It would not shock me if that streak is broken. I have Tom winning the fight, but, I could easily see it going into like the middle of the 4th or possibly I don't think these boys are going to a decision, but at the same time, I could definitely see, Curtis's striking just continues to get better. He does everything that his coaches ask him to, right? And, I'm not trying to take anything away from Tom. He's great on his own, but I just think that line is a little bit wild. But I
was surprised. I think part of it is Curtis. I think people remember Curtis going to sleep too many times, and I think the fact that the UFC didn't even want Curtis here. Remember, this is supposed to be Ciryl Gane. Not that anybody wants to see Ciryl Gane in another damn heavyweight fight, like another title fight. But I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to get thrown off track talking about Gane. But people that actually signed the fight. Yeah, I definitely think Curtis's grappling could be interesting, but Tom is a big boy, so I was, that it was really a shame how that first fight ended because that looked like it was going to be a banger, and you put it back in the same atmosphere, but now he's got a belt on him. I don't think this is set up for Tom as people are making it out to be. I think Curtis is a live dog, but I do have Tom winning the fight. by knockout, probably or like a TKO.
Yeah. So Matua Sablin says Curtis got a nice game plan against Tom. Drag Tom into deep water, put him on his back, then elbow city. I'm looking forward to see Tom's guard game if it goes there. So,
yeah.
And then he said, send gone back to France so the French can eat him. So there's that.
No, they did one better. They sent him to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
They're like, you ain't fighting on the France card. Like, you can go to the, yeah. I love that. Like, I probably shouldn't because, you know, I'm all about fighters getting good things happen to him. But, you know, he's just playing too much.
Yeah, he had his chance. He's had good things happen to him. What your thoughts on the co-main event?
Okay, real quick, I gotta say this, man. The only time I want to see cereal gone is when I'm out of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Anyway, so in real life, guys, I think Bobby brought it up real good, like straight up and down. The line is a little crazy, in my opinion. I think Curtis Blades is not getting a lot, and I think both of y'all made some good points. I think Botkins is correct on the fact that we've seen him get knocked out, or the odds makers have seen him get knocked out one too many times. Going up against Tom Aspinall, heavy-handed guy, known for taking guys out before the second round, just like you said, Bob. But somehow, some way, this is one where if we look at at least 3 out of 4 of his last fights, right? It's been a different Curtis Blake, and he's been saying that he's been, you know, kind of professing that he's in a different mindset now when he's been fighting. I'm looking at things like his win method, and especially like when I think about like this 13 wins by knockout. That's something we see quite often in the heavyweight division. We see guys who are going out there to take another guy's head off. But in this case, will he do something different to catch Tom off guard, or will he go all out? I'm somewhat thinking he's going to go full out on this one. The whole take him into deep water. Let's see if Tom can get past 2 into 3, 4, and 5 those championship rounds. This may be the one time where Curtis Blades is being taken too lightly. Where if we get to 4 or 5, it only takes one slip of a punch, one miss to take Tom Aspinall's head off. I am Botkins' brother. I love Tom Aspinall, but I don't like him in this fight. I think this is one where we see the interim championship change hands. Curtis Blades gets a little bit of love, just a little bit. For one, I'm not saying it's going to last long because somebody will take Curtis Blades out, is my point. But I think this one time, Tom Aspinall, I don't like it. I don't like this matchup for him. I really don't. And somehow, some way, jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, I as a watcher of MMA, as someone who has wrestled a long time ago, don't ask me to do nothing now. I'm not meeting the team. If you know about wrestling, you know what meeting the team is. My whole thing is somewhere in there, they want you to say that the wrestling is going to overpower the jiu-jitsu, but that has to do with how good are your hands on the ground in the clinch. I like Curtis Blades in this one. Let's see if it gets past 3 or 4. That makes Blades more dangerous, in my opinion. We get to 3, 4, 5. That makes Curtis Blades way more dangerous to me, because I don't think Tom is mentally like. I think Tom is going to go try and take him out. To my point, you know what I mean? I think Tom is going to try and take him out, and if Curtis Blades takes his hardest 1 or 2 punches, that's going to throw you off and go, man, I swung for the fences. He's still there. So if that happens, we get to 3, 4, 5. I'm really interested in seeing Curtis Blades win this one.
It's not going 4 or 5. It ain't going.
Come on.
I mean, the fact that y'all think that this man's going to take him into deep waters is insane to me. Here's his 4 losses: Francis 2 times to Francis Ngannou, both night. Derek Lewis sent him back to 2000, the year 2000. That's how hard he hit him. I mean, and you're telling me you couldn't shoot on Derek Lewis and take him down, and you got slept? What you gonna do to Tom Aspinall, who's a lot thicker, a lot quicker, and a hell of a lot rounder, better fighter than Derek Lewis? He went night then. Went night to Sergey Pavlovich. You know what all those guys have in common? Heavy fucking hands. You know who has heavy fucking hands around here? My heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, is going to do it. I mean, he is. I think I said from day one, he's a future heavyweight champion. He's got the interim title. John Jones and Stipe, I know they'll fight in November.
Someday.
Maybe, possibly.
Maybe.
95%.
November. They're doing that and Potent and Angle Live.
Yeah. That's what I've heard too, Bobby. Like it's never been set in stone. I've heard that too, but and I think both of them ride off into the sunset because I love John Jones. I think he's the GOAT of the GOATs.
Definitely.
I do. I don't think John Jones wants none of Tom Aspinall. And he sure as shit doesn't want none of Alex Pereira.
Oh my God.
Because it's time. This is Tommy Aspinall's time in his home country, and still UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Tommy Aspinall. Tommy Aspinall. Tommy Aspinall.
Your breath control is getting better, bro. You held that for a pretty good minute there. Shout out to boxing, man.
One last thing on that, since you mentioned Jones. I do think Jones takes that fight.
You do?
Yeah.
I think we've had this discussion before.
Absolutely. Like, I would, the fights that he has available to him are like what he was asking for, all that time. He's like, he wants stuff that excites him. Tom is going to have this performance. That's going to excite him. Potent is just exciting. So, I mean, I could easily see both of those happening. People forget John Jones makes a lot of money.
He does. Real quick, he said, Mike Tyson said, if Jones goes to prison, does Aspinall go to prison to fight for the undisputed? Hey, that's what's that movie with Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames? Was it called Undisputed? It was called Undisputed. They fought in the prison. They boxed in the prison.
Right.
They'll have a UFC version of that.
Exactly. Look, and I shout out to Matua Sablin, man. I am definitely in the books of John Jones is possibly going to do time. They're going to make an example of him. But
no, it's 2 misdemeanors. He ain't going to do. He ain't nothing.
If he does anything else, they will. But before they do, I am in the mindset that John Jones is a legacy, a mental legacy guy. He knows what he's up against. He knows he's got to do Stipe. But if he takes Stipe out, or if it was to happen, he's got to do 2 fights, and there are only 2 that he's got left. He's got to figure out what he's going to do, Tom. And they're going to put that money on the table. They will put the money on the table. They'll have it at Jerry's World, and it'll be John Jones versus Poetan for all the money and all the schmeckles. What's the European?
I'm gonna throw one. I'll throw another curveball. If he does stick around, it's gonna be John Jones, and Turkey Al Sheik is gonna sell shit ton of money. Gonna give Dana $2 billion. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou in a cross promotion promoted by Turkey Al Sheik.
And listen, and of course we'll talk some other stuff later, but I like how your mind works right there. I am with that. Okay, Turkey Al Sheik ain't playing. Salam alaikum to all my brothers in Saudi Arabia who watch the show. It's one of those things where, like I said, John Jones is aware of his legacy. He knows he's got to fight certain people, and he's not going to run from it. He's taking his time. He's enjoying going to gun ranges, running around with his Malamute, his huge dog, and shooting at non-live targets. That's what John likes to do. What an American!
Drug testers keep showing his house at 3 a.m. He ain't gonna be fighting nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't need my UFC fighters to run for president. What they do in their personal lives, I could really care. I really focus on the skill. A lot of it is fun to follow and watch. I'm not denying that.
Amen to that.
But to me, it's almost more impressive because he continues to be like. Normally, like if this happens in the NFL or something, they fall off. They're out of the league in like a year or something. He's still fighting. Like, with all of this stuff he's done, That's pretty.
It's still
wild.
undefeated. It's still winning.
Yeah.
It's still winning.
And listen, and the thing, and I saw an interview he did, like not even an interview, he did it like kind of in a joking manner. He said when he was on the most drugs, when he was whipping the most ass, like.
Oh yeah, he beat DC after a 3-day coke bender.
What?
On
Come
weekend,
on, dog.
Yeah.
And
he literally said it to, like, all-timer line.
Yeah, I beat you after doing 3 days worth of cocaine, Mike. You know what I mean? I mean, I sometimes I do go back because it's been so long time since it. Before we get to the main, I'll go back and watch like Prime John Jones because it's been so long since we've seen Prime John, and so you almost forget how good he was. So I'll go back and watch a lot of them good young John Jones fights. Like I watched just recently, I watched the first DC fight, and just like DC was like, you could tell by the third round, DC knew he didn't have no answer for him. Like knew it was like,
and DC was great, and I
DC was broken, yeah.
And I hate when people talk about Daniel Cormier while he's doing, the commentary and all that stuff. Daniel Cormier was great, one of the best to ever put himself into the octagon. Daniel Cormier was not a slump. But to say that he lost 2 times to John Jones, John Jones was different, bro.
Yeah. Let's get into the main event. It is held by welterweight champion Leon Rocky Edwards versus Bilal. I can't remember his name. Muhammad. Leon. Before I get it, I'll give out the stats, and then I got to ask this question first. Leon is at 22-3. He's the heavy at decent favorite. It's minus 250. This is only the 4th time where 2 fighters are going into a fight where both of them have longer than a 7-fight winning streak. Muhammad is 23-3. He's on a 9-fight winning streak. He's plus 205. Bilal is so damn delusional, though. This man said if he beats Leon Edwards, before we get into the fight itself, he said if he beats Leon Edwards, he is the 2nd greatest welterweight of all time, behind only GSP. I don't know who his weed man is, Bobby, but by God, I need to get some because that man is smoking some real shit.
Hey, someone's got to sell the fight.
Then you don't need it. I mean, that's not the way to sell it. That's not the way to sell it.
I concur. Leon's a fighter. He's not a fight salesman. But yeah, you gotta big it up. Shout out to Bilal. He ain't been out. He
can't believe that though, right?
He hasn't been out the house in a long time. I think I'm the best at Madden after I play a season over the weekend. You know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine how he feels, after having,
Leon's not even number 2.
Yeah, Leon's not even number 2. Right. You still got to go Usman at least somewhere in there.
To me, Usman's probably the 2nd greatest welterweight all time. And then you can throw in even if he beats Leon on Saturday night, he's still below the likes of guys like Carlos Condit. He's below guys like Robbie Lawler, below T Wood, all them guys.
Yeah, they're definitely below Woods, man. I mean, once again, I think in order to be in this type of competition, you have to have a bit of like blind idiocy about yourself, and it's a positive thing. Like I went the other day. I rolled by the axe throwing place, Axes and Nails. Shout out to Axes and Nails. And I went and I talked to the manager because I'm doing my little marketing thing. I was like, man, I'm probably really good at this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably really good. I can throw it at a target, knowing good and day well I ain't never thrown no axe at no wood. But that's the type of way you gotta feel at the MMA ring. I'm probably the best at this, and I gotta big myself up when I get in front of a microphone because that's exactly what Bilal Muhammad did. So kudos to him for thinking he could be that good.
Bobby, your thoughts on just those comments?
Like what the comments he said on Embedded and stuff.
Yeah, just about him being the 2nd greatest welterweight of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really shock me at all, especially knowing Bilal's demeanor. His type of trash talk is more clean. He rarely ever swears and stuff like that. So, his trash talk is definitely a lot more kind of like polite shit talking. And you know, like
the gentleman shit talk.
Yeah.
First of all, Bilal is. I got a problem with Bilal just the way he talks trash because he says a lot of shit that I'm gonna knock him out. Yeah, I've never seen him knock out anybody. You couldn't beat up one-armed Gilbert Burns. You couldn't finish one-armed Gilbert Burns in your last fight, Bilal. Like
so I just rewatched Burns and Bilal, and like Bilal broke his arm stuffing a takedown. He has like the strength.
Yeah.
And I remember when that fight happened, everyone and their mother was messaging me, telling me how Bilal was going to get smoked and everything like that. And then when he did not lose and Gilbert lost, everyone was just like, oh, yeah, well, I guess that just didn't happen. He couldn't finish him.
I was surprised. I took Gilbert. It was a short notice fight. I might have been one of the people that messaged.
Yeah, no, he was coming off the fight with Masvidal, so like it was on short notice. Definitely everything.
He had 3 fights in 3 months or something crazy like that. Yeah.
But people forget Bilal Muhammad was injured in that fight because everyone on Twitter was putting his like leg with him like, and Gilbert knew he was injured. He kept switching stances to compensate for it, and he ended up breaking Gilbert's arm. So to me, that's an impressive win. I know it might have not been too pleasing on the eyes, but that's the greatest part of this sport when you just can shut someone down elite like that.
Yeah. It did. I don't know if you guys caught the elevator scene. Did you guys catch that today?
Yeah, that seems like the UFC set that up because they put it on embedded.
Yeah, I agree. But Bilal was like, they were scared. They was fearing me. I'm like, I watched that from the video I watched. The only person I thought that was scared was you, Bilal. Like, you kind of got punked out by Leon and his boys.
I don't know. Bilal was looking at him like he was staring him down. And, you know, I love Leon's style of how, like, he never looks at him and he, like, looks away. That's what he did, like, in the Usman fight. I get that. But, you know, I think this is a lot more of a fight than people are, like, look at the line. Like, you know.
Yeah, the line's pretty close.
Yeah. And, yeah, I don't know. You've set the table pretty nicely. Do you want my prediction, or
go ahead.
Would you want to go first?
No, go ahead. I go last. That's what the host does.
Yeah, well, I figured mine might kind of shake up the rotation. So
shake the room, brother. Shake the room, brother.
Yeah, and let me preface by saying this: like, I am a big fan of Leon Edwards. I have nothing against him. I know a lot of people treat MMA like a team sport. Like if you're picking someone, like you hate the other motherfucker and stuff. I think Leon's great. What he did with Usman, probably the greatest comeback of all time. But the way this fight sets up, with the amount of time Bilal has had to train for it.
Over a year. Yeah.
Like Khabib has had time to break it down and go over it with him. Bilal just keeps getting better. Granted, Leon just keeps getting better. But, you know, I think Bilal wins this by decision. I would call it a split decision. I don't think he 50-45s him like he claims. I think it's going to be split. But at the end of the night, I think Bilal is going to walk away with that title. And there are going to be a lot of pissed off people on Twitter. And I'm going to love every minute of it, honestly. Because, I mean, he has that heat where he pisses people off. And, you know, that counts for something.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. The room just collapsed. Fair point. I mean, you got a lot of good points. You do got to make a fair point there. Whit, your thoughts on the main event here?
Bro, let me tell you something, Bob. Yep. Am I good? I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So Bob, thanks. Like, yeah. Sometimes we gotta get a little spicy with those takes, bro. Gotta get a little spicy. So, with that being said, I am in somewhat of agreement with you. I think that this is a lot closer than people are suspecting, than a lot closer than the line suggests. I think the preparation time, like for someone that you already that in retrospect, the first fight was very, very mixed for me. Before the eye poke. I think that this is only going to add fuel to the fire for Bilal Muhammad. And somehow, some way, Leon is going to have to pull up. If Leon was to win, this has to be one of the greatest performances in a MMA ring by him, because I will be very, very shocked if somehow, some way, Leon Edwards knocks him out or in an early round. But I'm saying that because in my mind, Bilal Muhammad is prepared for damn near everything. Whether if you want to take him on the ground, whether you want to stand and bang, he, just like you said, Barkins, he's got Khabib somewhere. And hey, look, don't have him go on a plane and go sweat. And I saw a video of 40 Dagestani wrestlers sweating on mats and running and sliding across the floor. That is insane to me, and I think that somewhere in there,
that's how you get staph infection.
Yeah, no, that's how. Thank you. But somewhere in there, that's where I think I saw Bilal Muhammad in his training regiment going, yeah, this is what I got to do to be the man, and now I'm going to do it. And with that being said, I got Bilal, and I just like Bob said, sometimes when you make these predictions, people go, oh, well, how can't you? No, I'm not doing that. I'm picking with my brain on this one because my heart is going to tell me Leon's home. I got finished watching Supercell over the weekend. I started watching Top Boy. I love the English accent, but at the same time, Bilal Muhammad on this one, to me, it is I think truly can pull this out point wise. And so,
somebody got to be the smartest person on the show, and thank God I started the show to show that so Matu brings up a simple point. Let me ask you guys this: who's a better wrestler, Kamaru Usman or Bilal Muhammad?
We haven't seen it in a year.
With what knees, I would ask.
Either
I'm
fight.
Serious. Like, I mean, legitimately, if you look at it right now, you could easily make an argument that Bilal has better technical wrestling in MMA.
Who's a better wrestler, Colby Covington or Bilal Muhammad?
Easily Bilal Muhammad.
I think Colby. Who's got the better gas tank?
I mean, all
Colby probably gas tank.
Colby, I feel like he's pretty well past his prime. I thought that last fight against Leon was a layup for Leon.
Definitely.
And, that last fight should have been this fight. And,
it's true. I did agree. I do agree that Colby should have never fought. Never fought Leon.
Like I get people bringing up like his injury because he broke his foot and saying he always has that constant pressure. That was his last, bad fight. But I thought Leon Edwards had a pretty lackluster performance in that fight, to be frankly honest. Like, volume-wise, he did not throw too much. And if you fuck around with that with Bilal, I mean, there goes a round right there. And then all of a sudden we got a fight on our hands. The first fight, though I would even throw it out the window, Leon rocked him with his best shot. Bilal got back on his feet and actually came back in the fight. And it's just a shame that poke happened because that was just getting going. But that was so long ago, I honestly throw that in.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago. I mean, 4 years ago.
They both have gotten
3 years ago,
so much better. So
yeah, I think that Leon has gotten so much better, time in and time out. Like the third Kamaru Usman fight, I thought that was one of his best performances. You know what I mean? To me, Kamaru Usman's still one of the best welterweights in the world. And we just said he's the second greatest, maybe welterweight of all time. I think
took that fight too soon, though. That rematch. I wish that would have been a month or two. I'm not taking anything away from Leon. Leon easily won that fight. He probably still would have. But Usman's mind didn't really look right in that one. He seemed very hesitant for, that dude's got Whitman in his corner. He's never that hesitant.
No, you're right.
I just think that Leon is that good, and he's getting better.
I don't disagree at all, for the record. Like,
here's what I'm really gonna tell you though. But it doesn't matter who wins this fight. They're holding it for one guy, and his name's Shavkat Rakhmonov, because that's the next welterweight champion, and he's going to have it for a little bit.
So leading into that, if Leon Edwards is able to beat both Bilal and Shavkat, I would easily put his resume over Usman, and I think it rivals George St. Pierre. So, I mean, I'm high on Leon. I just, this is a hell of a test. So
yeah, that is a tough test. But as they say, it's still UFC welterweight champion of the world, Leon Rocky Edwards.
Don't let him bully you, son.
Bro, like if Bilal's coach throws one of those in between rounds, that'd be the funniest thing ever. Yeah. Like I doubt they do it because like he actually gives him corner advice, but like it'd be a pretty like to continue with the trolling. That would be pretty good.
Yeah,
like especially if he's up. Like up on the rounds, and he's just like, "Don't let him." Oh, it'd be so funny.
Definitely. I think Leon wins decision, a close decision. I think both these guys are you just know when guys are kind of just decision fighters, and I feel like both of them kind of are. So I feel like bet the over. That's what
it's going to be super technical.
Yeah, very much technical. Yeah. I love the fact that we kind of got both sides of the spectrum going on here. We're not agreeing. We're not saying that either fighter is way more better than the other. But I heard Bob say it's just in my mind that first fight, although 3 years ago, looks so different. You know what I'm saying? Like
one thing that
his toughest, hardest thing, and that's going to stick in his mind. Like it's got to happen.
Well, Bob made a good point to me is you forget sometimes, like when you're the challenger, you're always training for the current champion. You're always, you know what I mean? Even though there's fights, you're still on your off time, and he's had a year to prepare for Leon, but you're always preparing for the guy, right? Like the guy that's the guy. You're always like on the come up, like, hey, I'm going to face this guy eventually. Like that's the guy I'm going to train for. I'm training for. When you're the champion, you're not looking really you're just looking at what's across from you, not really looking,
not taking the rear view like that.
Yeah, you're not checking the rear view of the bottom of the rankings, the middle of the rankings. But as a guy that's coming up, you're always training for that one or two guy, especially the champion at the top. So
hey man, I'm gonna tell you this, and now that you say that, I had this in my mind, but I completely forgot because I had the baby and stuff. So it makes me think. This really makes me think of like what is it? I think it's Rocky 3, where Clubber Lang kind of was just waiting on Rocky to not be ready for a long fight, and somewhere in there, I think Leon Edwards is a great fighter, but I think Bilal Muhammad went into a hole. He did that whole, Mr. T thing. I train alone. I live alone. I eat alone. Yeah, Balboa. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like he's on that type of time right now. So, in all honesty, trust me, I am one of the biggest Leon Edwards fans. And I think truly, if it happens, if the belt changes hands, we're looking at one of those 1.5 to 2 year runs where we could possibly see, of course, the return of Usman to fight somebody, whether it be Bilal or Leon, for a Leon Usman 3. We got to see what happens with Shavkat. Like I think Leon losing makes the division just a little bit more interesting because there are things that can happen that won't happen if Leon maintains the belt.
Yeah, I feel either way, Shavkat is next. So
yeah,
kind
me
of
too.
I don't really think there's a scenario where they give Leon a rematch, unless I really don't see that.
Unless it's some super close fight where it.
Yeah, I think it'd be stupid. I don't think it's. If it gets to if it gets to those last couple rounds, I don't think that it's gonna. This is one of those because They're going to be so tentative to try to not be caught by the other person, which is what I think kind of took place with Colby Covington and Leon, where he was pointing on him, but he was like, I just don't want to get taken down, but he still won handedly. Somewhere in there, we get Bilal and Leon 4 and 5. They're both going to be too worried about the other person knocking them out because they're tired, and they're going to be standing around tapping each other's face. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that makes it interesting. I think that makes for a good split decision. And then if the belt is to exchange hands, I'm talking about a 2-year run of fights at the top of the division that will make it worth Dana's money to put them on. Remember, you got Shavkat, you get Usman back, you run a Leon and Bilal back. Yeah, well, come on, it's a lot of people. Ian, you throw a lot of people up there at that 1 through 5 range that you can make a whole bunch of interesting fights rather than if Leon maintains the belt. But that's just me. I'm nobody special.
Yeah, I personally think after this fight, the division is going to start rolling. Like, for whatever reason, they lagged on making this. They could have just made it for 300. And, like, I think it's almost the UFC's fault we haven't seen this title defended more. You know, I know a lot of people like to put the blame on Leon for that.
Leon was ready. He was ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on what Dana said about that. I feel like he offered him 3 fights that knew the opponents could not do it. And but, you know, I was happy to see him big up Leon for once. He never does that. So
I mean, Leon said the 3 fights was like Khabib, which we all knew that wasn't going to happen. Who was the other?
Islam and
what's my guy that always has something wrong with him and then never fights?
Hamzat
was one of them. I thought was the point, right?
Yeah, Islam, Hamzat. Was Khabib one of them too? I think, right?
I think the point was it was originally Khabib, but Khabib was like, "Nah, I'm not coming back for that." Hamzat couldn't get out of having the crazy staff. Yeah, somewhere in there, and I've heard this on multiple occasions. Hamzat may just have that crazy immune deficiency stuff going on that we don't know about. And like, look, if we sneeze on him, he gets a cold. And it's not stealing people's money. Too busy. Like it's crazy. I saw a TikTok of him riding the horse. I'm like, the horse is going to get him sick. You know, so it's one of those things where I wish we, just like you said, Bob, there should have been some type of title defense before now. But I just like you said, I think if it comes out of Leon's hands, we're going to see way more title defenses between now and a year and a half span than we have ever seen for this division, because you got some young talented guys right there that are ready to go for it. And then once again, what if Kamaru comes back and says, I want it all. Let's go for it. What if?
He needs Leon to lose, so I could see that for sure. Hey, this has been another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. Bob, you got any last thoughts before we get up out of here on this card tonight?
Nah, not really. I think we went over everything. I can't think of anything else. Last thing I'll say is
Ramadan.
I'm wondering who's reffing this fight. Like, I haven't looked it up. If it's Herb Dean, Leon might want to watch grabbing the fence.
Yeah.
So that's that. I would hate for it to be a split decision with like a point being taken.
Fence grab or something stupid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just hope it's all like, I shouldn't have even said anything. I'm an idiot for jinxing it.
Yeah.
I mean, this card is stacked from top to bottom. I just can't wait for Saturday. So it's going to be fireworks.
Hey, Bobby, do you want to come back on a week from today and defend your picks after the fight? Open invitation.
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up. We'll do it.
One of us, Google Gobble, one of us.
Our 304 post show. When I proved to you guys that I was right about Leon and Tom Aspinall. So don't worry. I lose. I win gracefully.
I believe it.
That's not true.
Any final thoughts before we get up out of here?
Yeah, real quick, bro. So last week we saw Jake Paul win again. Y'all know I talk boxing, but we running out of time, so I'm like, we'll hold the boxing for another week. Last week we saw Jake Paul. Mike Perry gets taken out. How? Why? Are we going to somehow give Jake Paul a little bit of credit? I think somehow, some way, the fights before now, and I'm going to make it short. The fights before now, everybody was going, Jake Paul's paying Tyron Woodley to lose. Jake Paul is doing this, and that person's getting paid a lot of money, so they're going to get knocked out. I don't think you can pay Mike Perry any amount of money to take a loss. Okay, so that one was an actual fight. The fights prior to that on that card were pretty damn good. So shout out to the Zone for putting it on. And then now let's see what actually happens. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I don't give two craps about Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson, but I feel like somebody needs a real boxer. And shout out to what's my guy's name? Who fought Cesar Chavez Jr.
Uriah Hall.
Shout out to Uriah Hall for trying something different, because of course he had the issues with his contract and the UFC didn't resign him and so on and so forth. But this is what I want to see. It's got to happen. Somebody's got to fight Jake Paul. He's talking about being a cruiserweight champ. I'm excited to see what happens next. But am I excited to see him fight old man Mike Tyson? No, I'm not. Not anymore. I might have been when it first was happening, and we saw Mike Tyson in there tearing up pads, but I'm not anymore. So shout out to Jake Paul for getting a quality win over Mike Perry. Shout out for Mike Perry for just being the dog that he is, period. It happens. He got up. He shook it off. Mike Perry's back out there doing what Mike Perry does and all that good stuff. So boom, bam, bam. There we go. Amanda Serrano.
That was the first fight that Jake Paul ever took a risk, in my opinion, was signing that Mike Perry fight.
Yeah,
that could have fucked up that whole Netflix deal.
That could have killed it.
Beat the fuck out of him. It was. I mean, granted, he didn't have any real defense, but that, I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, that one was one of those where undoubtedly, even if you want to argue about Mike Perry not being a boxer, Mike Perry is a fighter's fighter. Okay, he goes out there and beats the shit out of guys with no padding on his hands. So it's not like he was fighting just any old body or some UFC fighter that hadn't fought or whatever. He fought Mike Perry. He beat, just like you said, he beat Mike Perry handily. I think it's time to get the right people in front of Jake Paul and have him fight somebody worth it. Some boxer that's worth it. Let's make that happen. And I'm sorry, man. Let my man Mike Tyson beat Mike Tyson. I want to see him smoking pot, doing podcasts. I do not want to see him fighting Jake Paul.
Seriously. Amen to that. That's been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. Our guest, Bobby, please check him out on Twitter at Mr. Bobby Blunts on X. My guy, Witt. I'm Bodkins. I'll be back tomorrow on the Let's Talk Sports Network on the Let's Talk Sports Show. It's our AFC South preview, so please tune in for that. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. This has been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. We'll see you next week, the same time, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, for our UFC 304 post show. We'll break down all the cards. I'll say how smart I was. I'm going to hit that outro. We'll see you next week, folks.
Peace. Yeah, somebody wanted to get in the camera like all day, so he just wanted to pop in.
You good, brother? Hey, Bobby, thanks for joining us, my man.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Man. We
appreciate you guys having me. It was a great.
We love that dichotomy, man. We got to get you back on for the post show so Bodkins can Oh, look, hey, shout out to Jay who said that we're still on because nobody cut the live off. Shout out to Jay.
It's ending right now. It's ending.